All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all North Carolina and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StriveScan. Thank you so much for joining us today. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are turned off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org. This presentation is being recorded and made available within about a week at that same website, CACRAO.org. I would now like to turn it over to our presenters.
Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I do totally appreciate our host for taking care of our introduction. Thank you all for joining. You're in for a real treat as we talk about the values of a faith-based education. And I'd like to introduce for you the folks that you'll be meeting today. Martin O'Coin is the Vice Provost and Dean of Admissions at Belmont Abbey College just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Bridget Miller is the Senior Enrollment Coordinator and has been in enrollment management with Regent University for 2.5 years. She is currently a Doctor of Strategic Leadership student at Regent University and works remotely out of Fayetteville, North Carolina for the university serving students of the Southeast. My name is Scott and I'm the Associate Director of Traditional Admissions at Bluefield College, and I serve students throughout Virginia and the Northeastern states. So Martin, if you'd like to go ahead and take it away.
Sure. And, if you don't mind for us, that'd be great.
Yes. Martin, is your slide up for everyone to see and to view?
I'm not seeing it.
Just one moment, I do apologize for this difficulty.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay,
if you can go back one real quick for me, that'd be excellent. Yeah, so when we were kind of brainstorming through this session about the values of a faith-based institution, the first thing that came to my mind is really the purpose of faith-based institutions and kind of the college and university life. And I think if you reflect back on the founding of kind of the modern university, all of the kind of historic colleges and universities that existed throughout the majority of history were linked as kind of faith-based institutions. And it's really centers on this idea, or the identity of these faith-based institutions are centered around this idea of faith and reason. Of course, reason and the pursuit of kind of knowledge and truth through the intellect, but understanding that kind of that human pursuit is limited. And at some point, we kind of, as humans, need to make faith decisions based on things that we cannot tangibly prove or show. So that, if you want to go to the next slide, I think Pope St. John Paul II summarizes this intertwining of faith and reason really beautifully when he says faith and reason are like two wings on which the human spirit rises to the contemplation of truth. And God has placed in the human heart a desire to know truth, in a word, to know himself, so that by knowing and loving God, men and women may also come to the fullness of truth about themselves. If you want to go ahead, just one more slide for me. When I think about the faith-based institution, I think about a holistic education, right? where it's centered around this idea of formation of the growth of the whole person. You'll see a lot of times, and we're definitely guilty of it at Belmont Abbey, maybe using this cliche of mind, body, and spirit. And even though it's a little bit cliche, that really is what it's about, this holistic formation where you're not just pursuing kind of intellectual or academic pursuits, but also, you know, this moral development and this moral growth and formation too. Throughout history, I think the world or society, and I think John Henry Newman really sums this up, is that, you know, we're often criticized that to be religious, you have to be ignorant, and to be intellectual, you know, you must be unbelieving, or you can't believe in God and be an intellectual. And, you know, that's where I think that the university and the college come in and they contradict that entirely. And they say, you know, we must dedicate ourselves to this pursuit of knowledge, to this pursuit of truth. And at that same time, realize that there are kind of those faith decisions that we have to make. So faith-based institutions, to me, you're not missing anything. You are going to focus on the academic and the practical and focus on kind of getting a career and making a living and things like that, and that intellectual formation, that formation of the mind. But at the same time, it's not going to be a place where you have to necessarily defend your faith, but you're realizing that your faith is supported. Your spiritual growth is just as essential, if not, you know, more essential than that intellectual growth. It's together. They're hand in hand. So, you know, you not only focus on, you know, making good grades and academics and your intellectual pursuits, but your things about, you know, like virtues that you develop, good habits, you know, what you get involved with outside of the classroom. Those things, they truly are kind of part of the foundation of the faith-based institution. It's intentional that we're not just focused on this one thing that happens inside the classroom, but the whole formation of the person, so that when you leave here, you know, you leave a faith-based institution, yes, hopefully you'll secure, you know, food and shelter and a living and things like that. But more than that, you'll be prepared to be a good person, a good son or daughter, brother or sister, you know, father or mother, a good citizen, a good community member, and hopefully be truly a blessing to yourselves and to others. So that's really what it comes down to me, is one of the biggest values, is this idea of you're not just focused on growth in one aspect of your life, but you're looking at kind of yourself as a whole person and focused on that formation, and you're supported in that formation by the resources offered to grow in mind, body, and soul, to focus not only on the academic pursuits. Yes, the academic pursuits are important, but also your own spirituality, your own faith, and ultimately developing, you know, the virtues and good habits in your own life. So I think from there, I'll pass it on.
All right, so again, my name is Bridget Miller. I'm from Regent University, and I wanted today to talk a little bit about the myths that surround what it means to go to a faith-based educational institution and gain that faith-based education. First, one of the things that you might hear, you might run across online or something like that would be, my degree from a faith-based school will not make me competitive in the job search. And of course, this just isn't true. A lot of this stems from the false belief that a faith-based education isn't of the same quality as other educational opportunities. And one way to kind of weed this out and realize how just untrue it is to look at what it means to be accredited as an institution in terms of quality and value of your education. So if you're looking at a bunch of different schools right now, one thing to look for is regional accreditation, which a lot of the schools that you'll see during CACRAO and all of us are regionally accredited. What this means is that we have an accrediting body that holds all of the universities and all of the educational institutions that are accredited by that body to the exact same standard of quality of education. So maybe you guys are probably from North or South Carolina if you're watching this. So you might be familiar with, UNC or Clemson, SC State, schools like that. Those are all regionally accredited schools. So if you're looking at a faith-based educational institution that is regionally accredited as well, rest assured, that the quality of that education is going to be held to the same standard as it would be at those other schools. Ivy League schools are also regionally accredited, and any regional accreditation holds all the schools to the same standards. So that is one concern that you can take off the table in terms of quality. Another thing to keep in mind specifically in regard to the competitiveness in the job search is that employers and hiring managers are not looking to hire from one particular type of school or one particular type of person. They're looking for a well-rounded workforce to give their business as many different points of view as they can. So coming from a faith-based educational institution and having that foundation, that educational foundation kind of gives you a leg up there, because you might be coming from a different point of view than someone else that they might be hiring. So that sets you aside a little bit differently as well. And then finally, again, in terms of competitiveness in the job search, employers are really looking for students that have soft skills and traits that are important, even in addition to maybe the technical skills that you would need for a job. So these might be things like integrity, right? Or maybe morality. And that at a faith-based educational institution, you're going to be developing things like integrity and that morality based off of that faith foundation. So that really sets you aside as well for employers. The next myth you might have heard is I have to be Christian or I have to be Catholic or of that certain denomination to go to that specific school. For every educational institution I've ever seen or I've ever talked to with a representative, this is usually not true. You just have to agree to be taught from that worldview or whatever it may be at that different school. Most faith-based educational institutions in general don't require you to be of that specific denomination or faith at all. The faith-based integration that you'll have at a faith-based educational institution is seen in plenty of different ways at different schools. At some schools, this might look like chapel services or mass services. This might look like Bible courses, maybe your first year. At some schools, it might be faith integration in every course and every project. So that can look really different just depending on what school you're going to. So that's a conversation that as you're looking into schools, faith-based educational institutions, that you want to talk with the admissions counselors about to find out really what's required at that specific school. But in general, you do not usually have to be of that specific faith to go to that school. Finally, I'll touch on these really quickly. One myth that we hear is the only courses I'm able to take are Bible courses. So we'll have people come to maybe our tables at college fairs and say, oh, I don't want to study religion. They want to study accounting, and they think that they can't come to a faith-based education because of that. And that, of course, is just not true. All colleges represented here offer other programs other than religion studies. There's a big difference between a Bible college and a faith-based educational institution. So you'll hear today about a ton of different programs, lots of different opportunities, everything from criminal justice to accounting. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there aside from simply biblical and theological studies. And then finally, something we hear a lot from especially K through 12 private school Christian or Christian private school students coming from high school is that they don't want to be in that Christian bubble, right? They feel like they've been in this Christian bubble, metaphorically, and they want to branch out when they go to college. So they think they want to maybe go to a public school or something like that to get out of that Christian bubble. And I will tell you that at faith-based educational institutions, there are plenty of opportunities to be around a lot of different people from different faiths than you. And I would also go so far as to say, in most denominations, of course, ministry and testimony is a big encouragement. So we would always encourage you to go into the community and serve and to minister to people that aren't of the same faith as you. And I will actually, that kind of leads into, I believe, what Scott is going to be talking about with servant leadership opportunities. So I will pass that over to him.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing about that. Totally appreciate it. I was taken aback a little bit as I was listening to Martin speak, because what he was talking about filters so much into what I believe is important about the college experience. For the majority of students, this is the first time that you've really been away from home. This is really the first time that you've spent any large portion of your life away from those people that have spent so much of themselves and put so much of their efforts and learnings into leading you to become the person that you are. Looking at the idea that you are in a place of learning, that you are in a place with other people from so many different backgrounds, some from separate countries, some from maybe just across the state or just across town, and how the way that we are learning and developing from our families really impacts who we are in the college space, in the higher education space. This is a fantastic opportunity to think about the ways that you are growing and developing. And when you look at the opportunity to pursue knowledge with lifelong results based on your decisions, a lot of psychologists say that the person that you define yourself as while you're in college, that's who you're going to be for the rest of your life, for the most part. Now, there certainly are things that you can change. You certainly will develop different characteristics over time. But often when we are looking at the opportunity to take who we are and invest that in other people, the first thing we want to make sure that we're doing, especially at the college level, is to ensure that we're making 3 really good decisions first in order to be good self-leaders. Excuse me. You need to be very honest with the person in the mirror and define, who are you? What does it look like to be you personally? What does it look like to be a good citizen within your college community? And definitely one of the fantastic things about that college community is, by far and large across America, there are way more students in a given school than there are faculty and staff members. And the students really are the biggest influencer of the culture on campus. So we need to ensure that we are doing everything we can as faculty and staff members to build up those individuals with fantastic leadership opportunities, with training, with skill set development, and with the ability to take who they are and then turn around and invest that in someone else. And I think often we look at the title servant leadership and we think of terms in high and lofty titles and different positions within the campus community, like the Student Government Association or Student Activities Leadership Team or a worship team on a faith-based campus. And that's very true. Those are students who have been sought out and recruited and trained and given that position in order to serve other students. But it's so critical for all of us to realize that each and every day that we need to prioritize. That's your second decision. First decision, looking in the mirror, being very honest with yourself about who you are and who you'd like to be, and then prioritize what is going to help you as a servant leader in your community build up that group of people that you're choosing to serve. So you need to prioritize and look at what are their needs, what are their desires, and how can I put those even ahead of my own in order to best build that community. And then we absolutely want to make sure that we are giving all of our students those enrichment opportunities. You're going to notice that colleges love buzzwords, enrich, invest, connect, achieve, all of these nice sounding words that really just mean that you are investing yourself in a community. It could be that as a freshman, you enter as a young adult and you are learning and from all of these folks who are part of your community, who are teaching you about maybe Bible study or to play the guitar or just to be friendly, inviting folks who want to make sure that you have a fantastic opportunity in college. And oftentimes, those folks may not even receive anything in return other than good resume boosting, letter of recommendation. Oftentimes, you're going to find that those students actually do receive a stipend, or it's possible that they have paid retreats and trainings and just fantastic opportunities to take that time to really make the college experience your own. So it's not just about learning in the classroom, but we are learning how to live life together. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about college is that you get to take that time to learn from people from all over the world and then invest in those people so that each of our communities grows and develops in a very healthy way. So I am actually going to say thank you for listening, and now I'm going to pass it back to Martin.
Excellent. And Scott, I'm glad you mentioned, buzzwords, because, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Belmont Abbey, and of course, those buzzwords up on the screen that we like to use: learn, seek, and thrive. But I'll try to contextualize them a little bit, so it's hopefully you'll see it's more than just buzzwords. But at this point, we are going to take a little bit of time just to share a little bit about the faith-based institutions that we represent, that we know and love, and hopefully just really tell you a little bit about who we are, so you can get a more in-depth view of what this actually looks like at a specific, or at 3 specific institutions. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Belmont Abbey College, we're a Catholic Benedictine liberal arts college. We serve roughly 1,500 students, and we're just down the road from Charlotte, North Carolina in Belmont. When you think of Belmont Abbey, and we can definitely get into loads of specifics, but we have a brief amount of time. So I just want you to remember these 3, keep in mind these 3 small words: learn, seek, and thrive. If you don't mind going to the next slide for me. So learn, when I think learn at Belmont Abbey, I think about learning from the world-class faculty. I mean, over 70% of our faculty have, terminal degrees. They could literally teach anywhere in the world, but they value that, those class settings, those interpersonal relationships, where they get to know you, your strengths, your areas for growth. And I think about learning from our liberal arts core curriculum, kind of based in the great books tradition. You're going to be taking rhetoric and philosophy and really developing your ability to think critically, communicate effectively, read and write well. And I think about learning in-demand academic programs. So as Bridget mentioned, there's not really a limitation here to just theology or parish and pastoral ministry or religion studies or anything like that. We do offer those programs at Belmont Abbey, but we're right outside of Charlotte, so our business and finance and economics programs are really strong. Some of our most popular majors include biology and elementary education. We recently expanded to offer health science programs like nursing and health information management and analytics, and probably our most unique program is actually motorsports management. So there's definitely no end in sight there. But that's really what comes to mind when I think about learn. If you want to go to the next slide, which is seek, I think about, of course, many students, the first thing they want to go to college because they want, job security. So of course, seeking a career, that's really important. But again, as a faith-based institution, I think we're called to a little bit more than that. So, seeking God, seeking truth, seeking lasting friendships. We think about developing virtue, and not just, campus activities, but not just academics, but campus activities, athletics. We have NCAA Division II athletic programs. That's all about perfecting yourself as an athlete through those practices, competitions. That develops virtue that then is going to carry over and make you a better student and a better person. So that's really important. We want you to seek an affordable, high quality education. So we're definitely focused on, we've reduced our tuition. We offer tons of scholarship opportunities. So affordability is definitely key for us. But ultimately, we want you to seek, more than just a degree, but really a good education and a good life. If you want to go to the next slide for me, which is Thrive. This is where we talk about really thriving in our community. We want you to get involved, not just, in the class, but outside of the class, whether that's campus activities, athletics that I mentioned, take the time to engage with faculty. We have monks on campus. So really thriving in the community and the stability of the people that are there and the intentionality of everything that's going on campus. Of course, we want you to thrive, in this place. Our campus is absolutely, we have this beautiful historic campus. It's over 500 acres of property that the monastic community owns. Kind of Gothic revival architecture. It's this nice suburban setting where it's plenty going on, but quiet and a good place to study and reflect. And then ultimately, we're only about 15 minutes from the center of uptown Charlotte, which is, comes with all the benefits of a major thriving, metropolitan area. The cultural, social, and professional opportunities. We're like literally 5 minutes from the U.S. National Water Center. And so there's opportunities in the area to really thrive and get involved in the community. And not just our local community, but we want you to thrive in kind of the larger global community. And that leads me to my last point, that we really want you to thrive for life. So it's not just about, thriving for these college years. That's going to be the best 4 years of your life, but really developing kind of that love of learning and growth and development so you can continue that. I graduated from Belmont Abbey in 2013, and every day I come back to campus, I get that sense of, okay, what I'm doing here is really important. I'm continuing to contribute to this community and this place, but it's also, continues to benefit my own growth and development, so that I can continue to grow, become a better person, and hopefully ultimately our goal to really get into heaven. So we want you to thrive, not just now, not just for this period, this 4 years, but really for your entire life. If you want to go to the next slide for me, that's really Belmont Abbey in a nutshell for me. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I did want to share that with you. Our website is bac.edu. But if you remember nothing else about Belmont Abbey, I encourage you to remember those 3 small words: learn, seek, thrive. So I'll turn it over to Bridget.
Thank you, Martin. All right, so I, again, am from Regent University. If you've never heard of Regent University, we're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Scott, can you go to the next slide? All right, so this slide talks a little bit about who we are through our mission, our vision, and our values. And I won't read this all to you, but really what this boils down to is the fact that in addition to your academics, our goal is to really develop you as a Christian leader, to go out into the workforce after you graduate from Regent and really change the world, challenge the norms in your field based off of that faith-based foundation. And we do that through teaching through values like excellence, innovation, and integrity. Can you go to the next slide? All right, so total at Regent University, we have about 11,000 students enrolled for this upcoming fall. If you're looking to study and live on campus, you're looking at a community of about 1,400 students that live in the residence halls and study full-time on campus. And there's about 4,000 undergraduate students total that study on campus but may not live there. Total student to faculty ratio is 19:1. What that means is for every 19 students on campus, there is 1 faculty member. And then the average class size at Regent is 17 students. So you're looking at probably smaller classes, and they do go even smaller depending on your major. Something that we're really proud of at Regent is the fact that about 30% of our students are military affiliated. So this may mean that one of their parents was in the military. They may still be in the military. We have a lot of veterans on campus, or maybe they're a spouse of somebody that was in the military. And one thing that we like to do for our military affiliated students is offer special scholarships and book stipends for them. So if this applies to you, if one of your parents was or is in the military, then this is something you want to look into scholarship wise if you're coming to Regent. And then finally, 90% of our faculty have terminal degrees. This means that the faculty or professors who are teaching your courses are most likely 9 times out of 10 going to have either a PhD or a doctorate in their chosen field, which makes them experts and fully qualified to be teaching you whatever they're teaching you. Can you go to the next slide? All right, so this has just a couple accolades on here. The first one is we are one of only 22 universities nationally that is A-rated for comprehensive liberal arts curriculum. And what this really means is that especially our gen eds that you would take your first couple of years of college really set you up for learning later in your academic career. We're also #1 best online bachelor's programs in Virginia. That's U.S. News and World Report from 2020. So this speaks to the quality of our online academics if that's something that you choose to do. And you can actually start studying online at Regent even while you're still in high school. So if you're maybe a junior now and you're wondering, what can I do now to get credits to transfer into whatever school it may be or Regent, that's something to look into as well. And those are all online. And then finally, we have 135 or over 135 different areas of study. So what's nice about this is you don't have to necessarily choose your specific major right when you come to Regent. You can be admitted as an undecided student and stay undecided or undeclared until your junior year of college. So you have a chance to kind of take a few classes from one major or another, get a feel for what you're interested in, what you're good at, and what you're called towards, and then really dive into that major later if you prefer. Can you go to the next slide? All right, so at Regent, we understand that the college experience goes beyond what you're learning academically. For us, of course, being a faith-based educational institution, we value developing the spiritual life of the student. So we do this through things like chapel. Chapel is a more formal service, probably exactly what you think of when you think chapel, with worship services and sermons. In a chapel once a week, but we also have something called Unchapel, and that's not a typo, that is developed by undergraduate students and only for undergraduate students. So that's a more modern service with more modern worship services. Again, led by, planned by, everything is by the students and for the students. We don't even go into the chapel during that time. So that is something that's just for that population. We also have life groups and special interest small groups. And if there's not one that really fits what you're looking for, it is very easy to become a life group or a small group leader. And then finally, we have Good Fridays. This is where you're really encouraged as a group for undergraduate students to go into the community and really participate in community service opportunities and just serve the community around Regent University in Virginia Beach. Campus life in general, we have 55 or over 55 student organizations. This is everything from surf club, as we're just a few minutes away from the beach, to dance club, to moot court, and pretty much everything in between there. If there's not something that you're interested in and you would like to start a special interest student organization, it's fairly easy to start one of those as well. We do have athletics. We're Division I NCCAA. And we have track and field, cross country, soccer, and basketball. And then if you're looking to stay in athletics, but you don't want to compete at the collegiate level, we also have club and intramural sports, including esports, which I know is kind of a growing interest field right now. And then I believe that this is the last slide, and I will turn this over to Scott. Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks so much. I am always excited to talk about Bluefield College. We represent about 1,200 students, 500 of which are physically present on campus. The rest study online. So we are significantly small, but we love that. We love to be able to maintain our smaller class sizes. We love to be able to maintain our smaller residence halls while still offering a big school experience. We do have over 40 academic programs with new additions within the last 5 years of forensic science, bachelor's science in nursing, as well as a variety of master's levels programs. We're definitely excited to be able to present to students in this area. Our pre-professional programs include things like pre-medicine, as well as pre-law, veterinary sciences. Very much so, Bluefield College has come from a tradition of the liberal arts, but we have now greatly expanded our academic offerings to include many more on the sciences and technology fields. As a school, we do represent about 32 different states and about 16 different countries from our student body. We are in the southwestern portion of Virginia. So if you're familiar with the Charlotte, North Carolina area, we're directly north on Interstate 77. It's about a 3-hour drive directly from Charlotte. And of course, by being a member of this panel, I'm sure you know that Bluefield College is a Christ-centered learning community. And we took that very seriously. In fact, we recently had a faculty senate, a type of faculty and staff discussion to really ensure that we're always defining ourselves and presenting ourselves to our truest nature, which is according to Christ. Each of the colleges you're going to interact with at different panels are going to have a mission statement. It is the defining characteristic of that college. It sets the parameters by which all of the faculty and staff and students work together to achieve a common goal, and that's the mission. And at Bluefield College, we are a Christ-centered learning community that develops student leaders to transform the world. And we take that very seriously, knowing that Robert Greenfield is a philosopher from the 1950s, give or take, that really defined what servant leadership means. He said that you need to look at others, look at your neighbors and your friends, and really determine what is it that they need. And like I said earlier, take that on as your personal responsibility, even above yourself. And of course, Jesus Christ is our #1 example of living that life out. So we try to ensure that each and every one of our faculty and staff, actually, we don't try, we do know that each and every one of our faculty and staff are Bible-believing followers of Christ. But we don't have that requirement for our students. We'll allow anyone to enter the college that meets our academic requirements. And we know that throughout their 4 years at Bluefield, they're going to be exposed to Christ through scripture and chapel and worship. And it'll be the student's decision whether or not they'd like to more deeply engage with Christ. As a school, we are a Division I team of the NAIA. We compete in the Mid-South Conference as well as the Appalachian Athletic Conference. And sports are a large part of who we are. About 70% of our on-campus student body are athletes in one of 18 different sports, including a new addition of esports. We have an esports arena being set up in our science center so that our students can receive scholarship on the Division I level to compete at the video games that they are so good at, which is very exciting for this college. I'm very excited to watch some of those games. And of course, I definitely want you to know that today is just a small glimpse of Bluefield College. It's a small glimpse of Belmont, Abbey, and Regent. And we would totally love it if you were able to come visit with us. At Bluefield, we are still offering on-campus visits. We have heightened protocols because of the current state of COVID-19, but we would love to have you come visit us on campus, spend the day, interact with faculty and coaches and staff members. You're also able to check us out for a virtual tour. You can see right here that this is what it looks like on our campus. That is our Vice President of Academic Affairs, Marshall Flowers. And we would love to have you join us in either segment, both online as a virtual tour or personally on campus. And my challenge to you is that as you have heard us speak about the values of Christian education, the values of faith-based education, hold us to a test. You know, you can look at our website, look at our core values, you can look at our mission statements, and I want you to take the time to really interact with the faculty members, really interact with the students on those various campuses and see, are those just words on a website or on a PowerPoint, or do the colleges actually live out that lifestyle and that mission? And at these three institutions, Belmont, Abbey, Regent, and Bluefield College, I know you're going to be excited by what you experience. So again, I want to thank everyone for participating with us today. We are going to remain here on camera for the next several minutes to answer any kind of questions you may have. So I want to invite everyone, if you'd like to turn on your microphone and ask us a question about the schools that you've seen, or type anything into the Q&A.
We do have a question that came in. The question is, are there any application fees for your school? I'll answer this for Regent, and then everyone else can answer as well. There are application fees for Regent University. It is $50. However, if you speak to an admissions counselor, or you can see my email right up here on screen, that bmiller@regent.edu. If you shoot me an email, I can go ahead on my end and waive the application fee for you. So you don't necessarily have to pay a fee. Scott, do you want to touch on Bluefield?
Yes, absolutely. We do not charge a fee to our applicants, and we encourage all folks to apply. It takes about 10 minutes, and there's no essay or interview required.
And at Belmont Abbey College, our application is also, if you apply through our website, ac.edu. It's always a free application, and it does not require an essay or personal statement. And we're also test optional. So it's pretty straightforward application process, but it's free kind of online application. And I see that there's another question. Do most students' credits transfer if they have taken dual enrollment courses? I can tell you at Belmont Abbey, if you have taken dual enrollment credits at a regionally accredited institution and you've earned a C or higher, they absolutely will transfer. Usually what you want to be mindful of is how they transfer into the curriculum you're pursuing. So definitely, apply early, get those college transcripts, not just your high school transcripts, into the institution that you're applying to, so that they can let you know exactly how those credits transfer. But at Belmont Abbey, and I'll let others address it for their institutions, but at Belmont Abbey, if you earn a C or higher, we'll transfer all those credits in.
Yep, so Regent's the same way. The only thing I will add to that dual enrollment question is that if you know right now where you want to go to college after you graduate, or you have a good idea, I encourage you to check and see if that institution offers their own early college or dual enrollment, because there's often benefits to that. For example, at Regent, if you take our early college courses, any tuition you put into that, you get back as a scholarship when you come to Regent your freshman year. So if you're positive where you want to go, or you have a really good idea, that's one thing that you definitely want to look into.
Yeah, absolutely. We highly encourage students to take as many dual enrollment credits as they can, or many as they feel capable of, because that's going to give them a strong foundation for understanding what it means to be a college student, studying at that level and that speed and understanding the differences so that they're most prepared to enter when they're a freshman.
Scott, it looks like the next question is just asking if we can throw that slide back up on the screen that shows our contact information.
And then also this will be cut off in a couple minutes here. So you will be emailed the video as well. So if you don't have time to write this down quickly, you can reference that video for this slide.
Yeah, I think we definitely all welcome you to reach out directly if you have specific kind of questions about our institutions, or if we can really be of any assistance during your college search and decision process. And that's really what we're here for as admissions professionals. I do want to say thank you to all of our panelists, the co-panelists today, but also, specifically all of you who joined us. You're on the right track if you're here, considering attending, faith-based institutions, and you'll be in my prayers. And I thank you for joining us.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We would really appreciate any feedback you can provide. This is just one of the many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions at CACRAO.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find the session's recording as well as all of the other sessions recordings at CACRAO.org. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.